Hello friends, today we will do chapter number 3, School Days. On the morning I left for school, my mother said goodbye quickly and then I was on my way to London. When I first saw the city, I thought it was an amazing place. There were tall chimneys and a large bridge that I later found was called London Bridge. But I was very disappointed when I saw my school. Salem House was in an old building that looked like it was ready to fall down, except when the headmaster, Mr. Crackle, was present. He walked up and down and stared at us with a look of disgust on his face. He shouted at us and then chose a few of us to beat with his cane. We were all very scared of Mr. Crackle. The only pupil whom Mr. Crackle did not beat was Steerforth. Considered him to be the bravest and most handsome boy at the school. Steerforth and I became friends. He liked me because I would tell him stories at night from books that I used to read at home. I had many unpleasant memories of Salem House. On cold frosty mornings when the bell rang, we dragged ourselves out of bed into the dark and damp classrooms. We ate metals and boiled beef and stale bread before we returned to the classroom, where we worked until it was time to go to bed. At last, holiday time came and I returned home for a break. Walked into the parlor where I had spent many happy days when I was very young. I was surprised when I saw my mother holding a baby. Mother seemed pale and weak. I ran to her. When I hugged my dear mother, the baby in her arms put its tiny fingers to my lips. Davy, my dear child, this is your brother. From the very first moment I loved my little half-brother. I spent as much time as I could holding him and patting him gently, except when Mr. Murdstone's sister, Miss Murdstone, was about. Her dislike of me was very obvious. Once, when she was holding my baby brother, she told me never to touch him again. My mother and I were shocked, but of course, mother said nothing. She seemed even more afraid of the Murdstones than ever. On another occasion, during those same school holidays, my mother compared the baby's eyes to mine. She said proudly that they were similar in shape and color. Miss Murdstone told her never to compare her brother's baby to me and said that the baby and I were not alike in a way. Mr. Murdstone, too, was cruel to me and said that I was evil and lazy. I was almost looking forward to going back to school where I wasn't always made to feel unwelcome and where at least I had friends and enjoyed my school work. I returned to Salem House, and everything seemed to be satisfactory. At the time I thought the most terrible thing was to be hit by Mr. Crackle's cane. But soon something happened that was much worse and affected my life in the most terrible way. One day Mr. Crackle called me into his office and gave me the most dreadful news. "Copperfield, your mother is dead, and you are to go home immediately. Pack your bags." When I arrived home, Peggotty told me that mother had become weaker and more ill after I had left. A day after my mother died, my little brother passed away as well. I was very sad, shocked, and lonely. I was only 10 and all alone in the world. I was an orphan. I went to the funeral, and mother was buried in the same churchyard near my home where my father was buried. The day, even the light outdoors seemed sad and more gloomy than usual. Thank you, friends.